Snapchat.
You follow me on Snapchat?
Of course I do.
Ooh, wow. Now I got a question. Kind of things I'm putting up there.
Why's that?
Oh, no, I'm joking. All my shirtless pics.
Those are my favorite.
It's a good thing I wasn't even comfortable to be in the office shirtless and nobody here.
Well,
Matt had invited me to his house to work out with his crew, and so Matt has a I don't know what you'd call a glorified version of an adult frat house he's running in Kyle.
Feels
And
like
you got 6 dudes that live there.
There's 5 of us, including
Wow.
myself.
And and like every bedroom.
is anyone in tech?
Yes.
Is anybody running a startup?
Yes.
It's kind of like Silicon Valley.
Okay, just want to make sure it's checking all. Like I think I
Checking
know
all the boxes.
Yeah,
All
okay.
the Austin boxes.
Got it.
But yeah, he's got every room of the house rented out, and then he's got the apartment above the garage rented out as well.
Nice.
And then if he's on his Instagram, like every Saturday morning, you got like 30 people working out.
Give or take 30.
Yeah.
It's a blast, man.
You're the whole Raw Dog Run Club yourself.
See, I'm jealous of that because, like, so I do, I'm sure you saw, like, we have the boxing stuff out there and everything, and I box, and, like, we've got weights up to 60 pounds, and we've got what we need,
You
right?
needed
But
people to spar with.
I can't get 30 people rocking,
Yeah.
but, like, I can't get anybody in this gym except for me, my girl, and then we have one other guy who doesn't even office out of here who cleans pools for a living, and he shows up every day at 7 a.m.
To work out.
And that's it.
That's
And then I'll
awesome.
watch, like, Becca come in and workout clothes after she's done working out. James is over at Gold's Gym, like, legitimately, like, 2 miles from here. I know Jay Dover. I don't know exactly where he works out, but I've seen him in gym clothes, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong here?
That's true.
Well, don't forget about Chase.
The great things about
Chase was there
Lifetime.
today.
Lifetime has a hot tub, massage chairs, pool, sauna. It'd be
Talking
lot-
about getting a
lot-
cold plunge here.
Oh, that could be
So there will be
something.
that. But are people just going to start coming in because of a cold plunge? Like,
Probably not.
we
no.
have everything else. Like,
No.
what else do we need?
This is kind of like my seller who has I don't know, this might be a whole different topic, but this is kind of like my seller who has an 8-acre property way out in Kerrville, and he said if we drop the price, will we get it sold soon? And I was like, it's not the price, it's the fact that nobody can build a house right now.
Mm.
So, to your point, buying more equipment probably won't bring
It's
in
not
the
going to
people.
do it. So we've got shout out to Erica Arce. We want to get her in here because she is a real estate agent that used to be a yoga instructor. But there's a few things we want to get taken care of in the backyard, and plus it's like 900 degrees right now, so I think it's going to get
So
pushed
hot.
back until the fall. But that is also something that we want to do at like 7 in the morning, which that's the reason I didn't mention you. You've been very direct and straightforward with like, that's never going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. You could work out alone during the day, but I won't be there for that.
Yeah, I was very direct on 7 a.m. was asking a lot. Now, if we did yoga sessions at 9, I could come in early.
Well, if we do 9 a.m. yoga sessions outside, it's going to have to be fall for sure.
Or you can just turn the AC off at night, and then by the time you get here at 7 in the morning, it's a hot yoga session inside.
There you go.
Yeah, just open the sliding door, close the other one,
That's what we do.
insulate it. Yeah.
Like, we already have done that where we'll close that door. It'll get
Bugs
so
everywhere.
hot in there. No, we've got the screen.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
That gets done. That's already being
all
done.
right,
But it's
I
not
was
like
checking for
100
bugs when I walked in.
degrees. Well, I mean, it has been warm enough, but yeah. I hear that it's not a bad idea.
All right, let's introduce our guest.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I love when I start the introductions of like how I met the guest and like where we came from. Anyway, so I was introduced to Matt through Austin Davis, and he said, I think his words were, "A friend of mine just joined me in real estate, kind of part-time here and there, but he's absolutely killing it for the fact that he's only doing a couple hours a week." He didn't glorify you all that much. Like, he gave you, like, a somewhat positive review. And I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, yeah, my friend's always, like, trying to meet, other, like, local entrepreneurs and things in Austin. So, yeah, you should meet him sometime. And I was like, I don't know what this guy's going to be like. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he's just going to, I don't know, interview me and maybe it'll be horrible. But anyway, we met at for burgers at the Get Out on South
Mhm.
Lamar.
Love that place.
And Matt just asked me questions for like 2 hours, and I was drained by the end. But for some reason, I left, and I was like, freaking love that guy. Like, I don't think he said a single like declarative sentence, but everything was interrogative. But yeah, just left me with great feelings. And then now and that was like back in like 2021. So I've been watching your career of meeting entrepreneurs, putting young, ambitious people together in the same spaces. I've been watching that grow from the time that we had the first Riser meetup. I don't think it was called Riser. I don't think it had a name back then. At the Shady Hollow Pool Club,
Yep.
whatever they called that little community space.
Community center.
I think we had like 20 of your high school friends there. And then now, I mean, I think some of the Riser meetups are probably pulling hundreds, if not close to 1,000 at some point.
What goes on at these meetings?
Oh, well, sacrificing goats, of course.
Right. Well, take it away, Matt. Tell us about the Riser meetings.
Yeah. So our Riser events are different than your traditional networking events. We try to brand ourselves as the new, fun, hip networking company. So we have magicians and DJs and comedians and speakers, and instead of it being your top button suit and tie, name tag, champagne glass sort of meetup, we have vendors on the outside, and you come in, and it's not all about what you do, but who you are.
Okay.
And the ego kind of goes down as you walk in the room, and you're just there to have a good time, knowing that all the other people that you're meeting that evening are just going to be really thoughtful, brilliant, and kind. And because of that, because of it not being this boisterous type of event, we feel like people have really come to enjoy it, and it's grown very, very quickly over the past 2 years.
I like that.
You know, I agree. Like, everyone that I've met at these events, I don't find that any of them seem, I don't know, egotistical and boisterous. But there's never been a written rule that you can't be like that.
No.
How do you make an environment where people are just decent to each other? And how does this multiply?
Yeah, I think it starts with Christian, Zach, and I just being on the same page in terms of just trying to be as humble and welcoming as we possibly can. And by doing that, we feel that we've set the example for everybody else to come into the space the same way.
Who's Christian and Zach?
Christian and Zach are my two business partners. So Zach's also one of my roommates. He's in the tech space.
Got it.
Me being in the startup space.
Nice.
So we got those that crossover there.
Dudes.
And then Christian also lives just a few minutes away from us in Kyle, Texas. A good friend of mine. And the way that Riser started actually was I had made a Canva flyer, and I titled it Austin's Most Successful Under 30, which at the time I was 21. Definitely wasn't one of those. Most successful under 30, but I put it out there to try to attract that crowd. And of course, Chase was there, and
It's a total wrong target audience. I was like,
Chase was like, sign me up.
"This
Yeah.
Jets Pizza, fantastic."
Austin Davis was there, one of y'all's recent guests.
Yeah.
And the first one we had, I think, 15, 20
I
people.
felt like it was about 20, 25.
And then the next one there's 40, and then the next one there's 80, and it just grew very organically. And then at some point, Christian came along, and he runs a media company outside of Riser, and he said, "Hey, I really think we should brand this and turn it into something." And that's how the name Riser came to be, and then all the branding and the websites and the events and the new venues and the speakers, yada, yada, so on. That's kind of how it progressed.
How often do the events take place?
So we have our monthly events that are at the Cauldron in West Austin.
Okay.
West Campus, baby.
West Campus, yep.
Not even West Austin.
Yeah, West Campus, yeah, exactly. 80 to 120 people at those. And then
Okay.
we have our quarterly events where you'll see 400 to 600 guests.
I got you. And what would you say is kind of, what was the goal, and is that still kind of the goal and the mantra that you operate with, or has that changed over time?
Yeah, the reason Riser started was to try and give back to the community and provide a platform for young entrepreneurs and business owners to showcase their skills, their talents, and what they were building. And what we did early on was we allowed some of those business owners to speak in front of the rest of the
Gotcha.
audience. So it was really just us giving back and giving them the opportunity to talk about how they're trying to make an impact on the community. We felt like that was really important to show. And I feel like that's still the centerpiece of what Riser is, in that we have 30 to 40 vendors now at most of our events. And the events aren't possible without them.
Gotcha.
I got to shout out two of the vendors that I met at that event the other day. One was Powerlift. I don't think that's local. I feel like they've got to be bigger than local
They're bigger than local.
because I bought their stuff off Amazon.
Mhm.
Man, I tried one of those drinks, and now every time I go to the gym, the only thing I'm excited about is like I bring one with me and I drink it after.
Is it like a pre-workout or is it like a
it's a-
protein?
It's a protein infused water, but
Okay.
it doesn't taste like you threw whey powder into water.
Sure.
Like it's not chalky and disgusting.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
good.
Gatorade. Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Honestly, big flex there. And then the other was, I don't think it was Krusty's cookies. Curdy's cookies.
Curdy's,
Bomb chocolate chip cookies.
all organic, healthy
Fantastic.
ingredients, no additives. Yeah.
Very impressed with
High
how in
quality.
shape those guys were, considering their business as well.
And so these vendors are ultimately what sponsors everything, and they're there to showcase themselves. People
Correct.
are networking. They've got their tables. They're like, check our stuff out.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Right on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they had like Tequila 512, and they had some guys making tacos, and
Yeah.
yeah, very good events. Our buddy James was there.
Okay.
Yeah, he was with Chase Long. It was exciting to meet him in person.
Was that at?
It was
At VUCA.
Okay.
This was
Okay.
last week.
Oh,
I'd sent you something, but then you're in
I was out of
Cleveland.
town. Yeah.
Yeah, we started our events at the Shady Hollow Community Center, and then we graduated to Highbrow Lowbrow,
Mm-hmm.
It's
and
a
then-
huge place.
very big spot. And then Highbrow Lowbrow was no longer at that spot, I think off of East 7th. And so we had an event at Casa Cartel, also
Okay.
known as Austin Beach Club, which I don't even know if it's branded that way anymore, but that was supposed to be the new Highbrow Lowbrow. We had so many people at that event that there were permitting issues afterwards because it was in a residential neighborhood and there was complaints with the noise and complaints with people walking through yards and all sorts of stuff, which I don't blame our community for that. It was just poor planning on our part.
Everyone leaves the event, goes graffiti, houses, eat the rich.
So we no longer were allowed to have events there anymore, and I don't think they're doing events whatsoever. And then now we're at VUCA, which we couldn't be more happy. The team over there is wonderful, and it's a really cool event space.
Do you find that you're like, are you still scaling? Are you still trying to scale? Are you happy with the size that you're at? Like, what does that look like?
I think in order to scale, we need to grow our team. We'd love to scale, but it's hard between the three of us while still working full-time jobs and having other projects and dating and having family and doing the whole thing that 25-year-old single guys in Austin do.
Working out in the garage?
Yeah, exactly. It's been difficult to scale more than we have. I feel like we've hit our we've hit the max of what we can handle ourselves. So we're at the point where we're looking to bring on other people who either one have more experience in the space than we do, or two are willing to help scale into other cities.
Gotcha. Is there anybody that's doing something similar to what you're doing? Are there any?
There's
for
a
lack
lot
of
of
a better term, like competition. Or?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of other companies that are doing networking or throwing events and building communities and doing an incredible job at it, and we definitely are learning from them as well. But in terms of it being not in a particular niche like real estate or fitness or the world of cryptocurrency, I don't know anybody who's doing what we're doing. It's really a melting pot of so many different industries.
Yeah, I feel like your only similar ones are like the young professionals of Austin, of name city.
Mm-hmm.
But those are usually like suit and tie type of name tag, very dry and boring type of events, because I've been to plenty of things like that.
Yeah.
Is there a particular, like, maybe business type or even type of person that you feel gravitates towards your events? I mean, I always feel like there's a theme anywhere you go, whether it's a restaurant or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Naturally, salespeople love that stuff.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
is that what you would say?
Early on, it was the demographic was between the age of 22 and 28. That's what it was.
Okay.
And what we've come to find,
Men or women?
men or women, yep. And what we've come to find as of recently, the demographic has broadened and actually gotten older, rather, which we really appreciate because it shows that we're starting to get respect from maybe people who have more experience in the industry that they're in, maybe making a little bit more polished, more established, and they're not turned off by the fact that we're like this young, hip networking crowd where there's music blaring and drinks being served, not just like in a champagne glass, but
Sure.
like I don't know what people do at the riser events, but I imagine some people have a little too much fun, which we don't encourage, but at the same time, we love to see everybody having a good time. So I would say I don't think it's just salespeople. I think it's literally any and every industry that you can think of, which is exciting for us because we kind of think of it as a tribe or a colonial community in terms of in a community, there's one doctor, there's one woodworker, there's one fisherman, there's one whoever, right? And then
Sure.
everybody just kind of like, it's like barter and trade, helping each other out. Oh, you own a marketing company? Cool. Well, I have a real estate company. Let's collab. Oh, you do private fitness training? Awesome. Well, I power wash driveways, so it's like this really incredible overlap where people are just willing to help each other out and they're just coming in, not necessarily for themselves, but just to be like, hey, like I know somebody that might be able to help you. And guess what? In return, that person ends up helping them as well. It's really been interesting to see how organic the community has begun to help each other over the past six months, especially.
Something that I feel like I suggested like years ago, and if you've already done this and somehow I've just completely never seen it, then shame on me. But I feel like you should get like a Facebook community group, like for everyone in it, and that way, let's say someone's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a cookie dealer," or if I want to figure out who those women were who were doing the testing to see if I was going to get cancer later on. And it told me I was very likely to have like multiple diseases.
It's okay, dude.
If
Mine
I could
was like
figure out
a
who
yellow as well.
Oh, mine was a dark red. It was like the worst you could be. And I was like, honestly, I feel like they tested me on the wrong day. But anyway, yeah, like, to find out who that company was so I can figure out how to not die real soon. Or like, let's say, hey, I'm looking for a personal trainer. Is there anyone that is part of this group? Because I feel like everyone in the group is fairly trustworthy. At some point, they've met you, and the fact they've met you says something.
No, that's a really good idea. And we've been trying to think of ways where we can monetize Riser further, and perhaps a way is the vendors pay into this Facebook group where, I don't know, maybe they're not moderators, but their names are listed in some subsection, and then whenever a guest comes to the event, they go into this free online Riser community on Facebook page, whatever you want to call it, and it's free for them, but it's the vendors that are paying to showcase what
the way
they're selling.
The way I could see that working
Start a
would be-
newsletter.
Yeah,
That's possible as well. Yeah, what I was mentioning would be like
100%.
it'd be like a BNI group in the way that the people who you have one person per category that sponsors to be part of it. Everyone else is just a member. But let's say that one person, someone okay, back up. Let's say that maybe the real estate sponsor once a week gets to post something related to real estate. Or if someone asks a question about real estate, like that person gets first opportunity to answer and help.
That's when you do it as like a
Yeah.
closed group and make it like a newsletter, and then that way you guys are in charge of writing the article, interviewing whoever. There's I won't name their name, but there's a real real estate magazine that does something very similar to this, where
Is it real producers?
they are, yeah, where the real estate agents are the product.
He jumps
basically.
around all the names of people, and I'm
Right.
just like, it's Victor Nino.
Chase does it all the time. Like, I don't want to say his name's like a real producer. But yeah, I mean, I could see you doing something like that, and they do a really good job in, showcasing vendors and everything along those lines. And of course, it's a paid spot, but it can help not only showcase them, but it can help grow the group and everything along those lines. So yeah, I mean, they typically do like a monthly newsletter / magazine. They put out a hard publication in terms of a physical magazine, but from what I understand, it's obviously more cost effective to you to do it as digital, and then people are just more likely to view it than something that they have to like either go and get, or because if you're mailing out magazines, it's going to cost you a fortune. So
Yeah, I feel like you could hire an intern just as your newsletter person. You do,
for sure.
2 a month.
Well, and so what they are doing is like here's another piece that I find interesting, that if I were you, they're taking those like, they're being interviewed by actual people who are writing a piece for them. That piece is obviously being distributed to, your publication, but then they're also putting it together in digital format that they're printing out and handing as like it's framed or whatever. And so now you're also providing like a publication that's been written by another organization, which obviously is always good PR. It's going to help your business and everything along those lines. So business owners see a dual purpose in it, that they're getting some sort of like PR article written about them while also advertising in a forum that is going to be in front of other business owners.
Yeah, whenever you said newsletter initially, I kind of laughed and chuckled a little bit to myself, because we know these things, but we
Right.
haven't taken action.
Oh, believe me. I was having a meeting today with a guy who's trying to sell me marketing services, and I don't even know why I took the Zoom meeting, but he was like listing all these things, and I was like, yeah, it's just kind of like back burner ideas. I've thought
Feels
of this.
daunting. We know what we need to
But-
do. We just
Well, and that's
haven't.
kind of why I asked you like what the goal is with you're like, we wanted to give back to the community, and don't get me wrong, that's that's admirable. I say this to real estate agents. Like, one of the things that makes my stomach turn is when I interview a real estate agent and I say, why did you get into real estate? And they're like, I just want to help people. And like,
No, I know.
that's a great answer, but that should be like your number 3 answer, not
Yeah.
your like number 1.
Yeah.
Because then if I were to ever say to an agent like, well, why don't you just volunteer as a real estate agent? They're like,
I'm like,
are you
wow.
crazy?
Cut my commission?
Right.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
I mean, ideally, in a perfect world, like the very authentic answer is creating a system where Christian, Zach, and I do not have to be at the events every time, and it's just a well-oiled machine. They run every month and then quarterly as well, the smaller ones and the big ones. And it's not just here, but in multiple cities where we have operators that are taking care of everything, and the money's coming in where we can just live passively and expand into other cities and just start the funnel over there, and then just kind of step back and watch it play its course. So ideally, that would be what we'd like to
Do
accomplish.
well by doing well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like this is a great segue as far as helping people. You have been making a splash on my Instagram For You page, or not even, the wall, by doing charitable things randomly to homeless people, to minimum wage workers, for your friends. Let's open this box.
Yeah, man. I was
Maybe
in
a
a,
little recap, since Matt probably doesn't know what's going on.
I'm not hip to it, but I'll figure it out. Y'all just go ahead and
about we're in June, so 6 months ago, I was in New Orleans,
Hey.
and yes, you know New Orleans very well, and I was staying at a hotel, very, very nice, all paid for, 5 stars, delicious meals. I mean everything you could possibly imagine in monetary terms was there, but I was just incredibly unhappy, and I was trying to figure out why I was so unhappy. And as I was laying in my bed at 3 a.m. in the hotel room, staring at the ceiling, I came to realize it was because I was living for myself, and had gotten to the point where, despite Riser and Reveal and the other things that was going on and pouring into the community, like I felt very selfish, and I wasn't doing things for other people maybe genuinely. And so I was like, the way that I have always felt happiest is seeing other people happy, and the way that I've always see other people happiest was when I would give them a gift or like give them a compliment or just do something nice for them, which also is kind of selfish too. You know, it's like, but I don't know. Like I guess it.
Well, they do say a gift should never flatter the giver.
Well, damn.
I didn't just come up with that. Just a lot older than you guys.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And maybe
go on.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was just like, I want to start giving to people because I know it's gonna make me feel good and maybe get me out of this slump. And
Did it work?
So it's worked.
Are you still
Nice.
slumping?
Yeah, I'm not slumping. So anyway, I started this video series, and it's turned into a really, really fun project. And I've found creative ways in order to give people things. Like, for example, I was in Mexico, and
What part of Mexico? I just got back.
I was in Isla Mujeres.
Okay, I don't know where that is.
That doesn't sound
I
like
was
a
in
travel
Tulum.
destination.
It was great.
Nice.
First time for me.
Yeah, Tulum's fun. It's a
You were
good
probably
Yeah.
doing charity work.
yeah. I was in Isla, and one of my friends really wanted a shirt, and we were kind of on a trip for him for his birthday, and he walked into the store, and she's like, "Yeah, like you can have it. Just come back after dinner. I'll make sure it's packaged up, ready to go." We walk out, and I ran back in, pretending that I left my phone, and I went up. I was like, "Hey, whenever he comes back, pretend that you had already you sold it, right? Like whenever we come back during the time that we're at dinner, you sold it." And then I'd already paid for it. So the surprise was we got back, it's sold, it's not there, and then he ends up, finding out that we actually got it for him.
And then he pulls out a gun, and Matt's like, "It's a prank! It's a prank! It's a prank!"
I'm sure they know once a video camera comes out.
Yeah, he knew pretty quick.
I love those "it's a prank" videos.
Yeah.
It's a prank.
So yeah, I think it stemmed from a place where I just wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling happy, and I was like, okay, how do I make myself better? Well, you're kind of a mirror of how other people feel. So if
Yeah.
you're happy, then I'm gonna be happy. If you're excited, then I'm gonna be excited. So it was just me kind of like pouring into other people with the hope that it would pour right back into me, and it worked.
I like that.
Do you feel like being comfortable is something that you don't want? You want to always try to push for uncomfort to try to grow?
In what sense?
I don't know. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and he was telling me that he was just kind of floundering at his job for the last couple years. He's like, yeah, it's kind of the same thing every day, but it's fine. It allows me, time to work on the rest of my life. And I was like, I feel like when I get too comfortable, I want to try to bite off something else and try to do something else that makes me a little uncomfortable. That way I can grow some more.
Well, we were talking about this today, where we were like, yeah, it's a new job. And we're like, a new job's always kind of
I
we're
got
literally
thoughts on
just
that, too.
talking about this today.
We'll come back to that one because that's also a big take. But do you feel like you're trying to expand all the time? Or,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
/ what's next on the horizon?
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, you randomly ran a marathon recently.
Yeah, I think it's good to challenge yourself because
Was that the Austin Marathon?
I did run the Austin
Or is it a
Marathon.
triathlon? I don't remember. I remember.
I did a few things last year. There's the Ironman, and then I did the marathon, and then I did an ultra, I ran 50 miles on New Year's Eve.
Oh, yes. You ran around a track at a high school for like 12 hours or something.
200 laps. That was crazy.
That's 50 miles.
50 miles.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. I don't
See,
recommend
I
it.
see like the videos of people forced to spend 24 hours in a Waffle House.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah,
man, that sounds tough. And then I see stuff like that. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you asked this question because it's given me a chance to reflect. I haven't done any of those crazy fitness challenges in I guess 6 months or maybe like 3 or 4 months now. So I did 1,000 pull-ups and I did 1,000 burpees and I did a 40-minute cold plunge, and it started to become easy a little bit. And I was realizing that I was using the fitness challenges as a way to make myself feel better about not challenging myself in other areas of my life.
Deep.
And
He always goes deep. I'm going to turn out lights in a second, light this candle.
and that's when I stopped doing those things. So it's like, oh, I have work to do in other areas. And some of those other areas were honestly just being happy. Like I was beating myself up, and then I'd run 50 miles, and I was like, I'm the shit, you know? But I was like, it's because I'm really unhappy. And so a lot of the past few months have been doing work on the subconscious, like not to go too deep, but just like telling myself on a daily basis, like, I'm happy, like I'm okay. My life is good. Life is great. I love life. And just repeating that over and over and over. And it's changed things. But that was a challenge, you know, that was a challenge for me. I was very quick to just be like, fuck, like this sucks. You know, today sucks. Like I'm working too hard. You know, I have to do this, rather than, oh no, I get to. Like this is an opportunity.
I get the sense that you have like an addictive personality where it gets excited about one thing and you got to keep doing.
Yes, but
And
also
this
with the whole like subconscious thing, like I'm careful saying that I have an addictive personality, right? Because I don't want to start to give myself labels and titles, and then that becomes who I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
But yes, yeah.
Well, I mean,
you've known me for the past couple of years.
Well, I think it's also probably, and this is probably me going way off course of what I'm qualified to speak on, but I feel like I've noticed this with people who've previously had problems with alcohol and became sober. Like they need other things to
Other avenues.
focus on,
For sure.
which I think is good. I mean, you're focusing all on positive things, you know,
Yeah, like
work, health, mental, you know.
For sure. I'll be the first to tell you I went from an alcoholic to a workaholic to an exercise holic. I don't know what that one
Those
is.
are all addictions.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then in their food, right? And then in their
Sex.
yeah, all of it, man, all of it. And so yeah, balance is very important.
Yeah.
What you mentioned is, you know, that you had things that you were like doing that were really hard because you felt like you should be putting effort into other places. It's called buffering. Did you know that?
Define buffering.
So I'll give you a very basic example that I see people do on a regular basis. You know, instead of maybe coming into work and like making the calls or whatever it is that you need to do, you know, you'll come in, you'll make some coffee, you know, you'll be like, oh, I got to call my mom.
God, this is me.
And then you're like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm a little hungry, so I'm just going to grab like a granola bar. And then after that, you like make 2 calls and you're like, thank God they didn't answer. And then you're like, all right, it's almost lunchtime, but I'll wait because like, you know, I shouldn't be eating right away.
I feel like
And
you've
then
been
you're
holding
like,
this one. This about me.
This has nothing to do with you. This is like, now I have to, you know what? I should probably go pick up my dry cleaning. And then I've got some stuff that I could throw in the laundry. And
Putting
then I'll
off
come
the
back.
stuff you know you need.
Yeah, it's
to
called
do.
buffering, right? So you're like buffering, but you are being productive, right? Like picking up your laundry or doing laundry or letting your dog out. Or I know guys that'll go to the gym in the middle of the day and spend like 2 hours there, and they're like, you know, so that's the buffering part of it that I try to be mindful of, because some of the things you're saying, you know, again, I've like gone through myself. And then the other part of it that I think a lot about that you also made mention of is, you know, those affirmations are great, but one of the things I learned through years of therapy is being okay with things not being okay.
Yep.
And I think for me, this is just me speaking from my personal experience, that was the hardest. You want to challenge yourself. That's the challenge, because you can give yourself affirmations and you can go, hey, you know what? I am happy. But like, what's like the real like Buddha thing is, you know what? This isn't okay, but I'm okay with it not being okay, because it's kind of like one of those things. Can you control it, right? Because you have the choice to move forward or backwards, and it's as simple as that.
Good plug. Well done. You know, to your point, you can have attachment to things being okay.
Yep.
To the point where, as the Buddha famously says, attachment is the root of all suffering. And I catch myself with the simplest things. I'll be in my kitchen. I have 4 roommates. Place is never clean. I am constantly trying to keep it clean, but I realize that is me trying to be in control always.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm just like, dude, it's okay if the kitchen's a little dirty. Just go for a walk, man. It's all right. And then I'm like, yeah, I need to go do that.
You got to find a cleaning lady sponsor.
Yeah.
Right?
You guys know one.
Yeah, I have a cleaning crew that actually offices out of this office. They clean our office every other Sunday.
Oh, you're serious? Actually.
I'm dead serious.
Okay.
And
yeah,
so I will get in contact with them. They may be interested in becoming a sponsor.
well,
And then more importantly, bartering and trading is the thing. Maybe we can get your kitchen cleaned every week.
Can you send me this info?
I sure
afterwards?
can.
I'm 100. We were talking about this yesterday. You see that? This is how business deals are
Shout
done.
out to deep cleaning. Is that
Well, Chase will
What do we
attest to I'm a pretty good connector.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. You're speaking my language. You're
So
speaking my
that's why you got to
language.
be here on Fridays.
Okay.
You'll meet a ton of
I
people.
might be here for the barbecue. But
That's what I mean.
people's a close second.
well, I have so many topics for Matt that I'm just going to keep going through them. All right, next topic. At what point you were doing apartment locating and you were doing regular residential real estate as well. Let's hop into why and why it ended.
Why it started
Yeah.
was because up to that point in my life, I had not found a fully remote job that gave you the opportunity to make pretty decent money. And I was watching Austin Davis's apartment locating YouTube videos, saw how much he was making and how well he was doing, and thought to myself, oh, I could do that. He's just a year older than me. We went to the same high school. And so through his mentorship, started it, and then was lucky enough to then be mentored by Dina Davis, his mother, who has done very well in residential real estate.
Yeah, we got to bring her on the pod eventually.
I know, right? That's the second shout out to Dina Davis.
Yeah.
What about Uncle Ryan? Give him a shout out.
No one cares about Uncle Ryan.
It's not true, Uncle Ryan. We love you.
And it was fun during the time that I was doing it. What I tried to do was I tried to become too much like Austin. I think that's where I went wrong, and I started making YouTube videos about apartment locating just like he did. And then I just simply got too busy, and I was trying to decide which one I wanted to do, and I was balancing riser and I was balancing dental sales. I just couldn't do it all, and something had to give. And finally, I was just burnt out, especially also because, as you guys know, real estate is a commission-based role. And that just ate at me because I felt like whenever I wasn't working, I should have been working because at any point in the day, you could still prospect and you could still make videos and you could still send emails and you could still post Facebook listings or whatever your avenue is to get more leads. And it just ate at me. And I was like, I just want something that's a little bit more consistent. So I went back to the 9 to 5 and just focused on riser, and that's the honest reason why I got out.
Nice. Okay, well, I remember there was a video of you giving your business to like a YouTube subscriber.
Yes.
What happened there?
I don't know if he ever did anything with it. Sometimes
We should follow up with that guy.
What's his name? Let's look him up.
Yeah, so I had a YouTube subscriber. His name was Aaron, and he had done a couple coaching calls with me. That I branded myself as the apartment locating expert, and I had calls with my YouTube subscribers, helping them get into the industry, and it was successful. I look back now, I'm like, wow, if I would have just gone all in with this, I think I would have done really well. But my heart just wasn't in it. It just wasn't in it. But I was naive to think I could sell it. I was like, oh, I can sell this thing that I built in 6 months, and it didn't make that much money, but at the time I thought it was a lot of money. I didn't even know the process of doing it. And it was I felt like it was just too much to try to go through learning how to sell a business. And so I just said, I'm just going to give it away to one of my subscribers. And I did that, and I don't know what happened after that.
It's especially difficult with a real estate business because you are the face of it. Like, I would love the opportunity to sell my brand, but it doesn't really do anything because I'm the one doing all the work. And someone else becomes chasing realty. I think people are going to say, well, I don't necessarily, I could work with another realtor.
Yeah.
There is a book about it. It's called The Golden Handoff. But basically what the author is saying is you would continue having your license, and as you received leads, you would be just referring them out to.
I had a business appraiser on here that talked about it, and you talk about the term is actually, how much of the business's value is based on good faith. And I know that sounds weird, and I thought it was a weird term that they use, but the good faith is ultimately, like, a great example outside of real estate are dentists. If a dentist were to just, like, leave his business, people are usually going there for that dentist. Like, there might be some value in, like, the equipment and the building that it's in, but the true good faith value is of the dentist. So I had a business appraiser on with a divorce attorney at the same time, talking about, like, how divorce attorneys will get in contact with business appraisers to figure out what businesses are worth when couples are splitting up. And it's a great podcast. You should watch it. But my favorite part was toward the end. I said, okay, so if I want to marry a woman and strategically divorce her to get as much out of the business as possible, what type of business would be the best? Because it has the least amount of good faith, but then the profitability's there. And the answer was storage facilities. Because a storage facility ultimately is going to
And nobody
profit.
cares who owns it.
Nobody cares who owns it. Like, there's not someone out there just, like, business development for you store it. Like, there's, like, one dude just sitting in the office. He's probably
Rarely.
right. And so all of the value is whatever the opposite of good faith is. So if you do want to, like, find a rich wife or husband, find somebody with storage facilities.
Your point on dentists, I see that every day. So I work in the dental industry. That's my full-time gig, riser and reveal and
I went to the dentist today.
Yeah.
Dr. Baines.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Baines. Yeah.
Do you know that Dr.
That's good.
Baines?
Yeah.
It's over there
Baines
on
is a good
William
dude.
Cannon.
Yep, that's right.
It's
Yep.
been around for a while.
Do you sell to him?
I don't. No, that's
You
not,
like
that's not in my
equipment
path.
sales or anything?
Yeah, equipment, technology, software, supplies.
You've been
all
in
of
that for a while.
I have, yeah.
And how many awards have you won from that company?
I won a few.
How many vacations have they sent you on?
I've shown me on a few vacations.
There you go. Is your heart in it?
His
His teeth are in it. He's really sunk his teeth into this.
I like what you're doing.
it is right now. But if you want to know, like, the dream is to use the money I make from the dental world to build this online brand and this online platform of giving back to other people, it getting to the point where it's big enough that it's catching attention from the public, and then figuring out a way where I can then allow the public to, I guess, donate money in some sort of way to allow me to continue to do the fun projects of giving back to the community.
Is that like a Mr. Beast type thing?
Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our local Mr. Beast over here.
I like it, though.
He's only worth like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy business concept, It seems to be working for him, though.
Yeah, and obviously I don't think I want to do like the Mr. Beast, like, I got 100 strangers to be buried underground for 24 hours. The last one out, like, makes X amount of money. I want to, like, I want to have a link in my Instagram or Facebook or TikTok that says, who needs this? And then they can submit requests. I'd love to go. Have you ever seen Home Extreme Makeover?
Oh yeah, move that bus.
That was my that was my favorite show growing up. I loved that so much, and I want to be able to go across the country and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
I got a great contractor for you.
Yeah.
not like with home specifically, but like that sort of
Right,
stuff.
right. Find
I'd love
people
to
who-
with people's homes, but then sell them after, and then like make these people a few bucks.
Yeah, so I imagine I'll be in the dental industry. I don't know, maybe for. I don't know if my boss ever sees this. I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
I want to be in it as long as it makes sense and I'm enjoying it and I'm bringing value to my customers and my boss is happy with me. But at the same time, I do have
Aspiration.
aspirations.
Do you find that there's a cause that you gravitate toward at the moment?
I wouldn't say a specific cause, just like making very fun, light, and playful videos that make people smile and light up, and they say, "Oh, that was kind of cool. That was nice."
Interesting. I always think about things like this because, so when I was really, really young, my dad was doing something similar to this, where it started off with me and my sister just kind of being like bratty kids before Christmas.
Yeah.
And so what my parents ended up doing was they reached out to a social worker and basically said, "Hey, can you give us a list of a couple of families that have, kids that are pretty much not going to get anything for Christmas?" And so what we had to do as kids was we had to like wash a few toys and then take these toys to, so I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. So we would, take these toys to these really, really broken down neighborhoods, and I would like physically hand my toy to like a child that was like close in age to me. So I was doing this between the ages of like 4 and like 8,
Wow.
right? It's like every Christmas, this is what we did. Well, so my parents were like telling people about it, and it became like this thing. So during Christmas, it just got to the point where like all these other people were like, "Yeah, my kids are little assholes too. Like, I want to do this." And eventually, it got to the point where like we had to find other social workers and things like that because it was like an all day thing. So once we got a little bit older, it kind of fizzled out a little bit. But these social workers were reaching out to my dad, and they were like, "Listen, we have a lot of families that could use help." So it just kind of turned into like what you're describing, which is like a donation thing where, we were like, who needs help and so on and so forth. And then we would like or we would raise money and then connect with businesses like Aldi's, or down here would be like HEB, where like they would give us discounts on groceries and we would literally buy in bulk and then like deliver care packages that we would give to like, people that needed things during the holidays. The only reason I tell this whole story is because I think about how, you're not the first person that has been like, that I want to like give back if I can figure out a way to monetize like providing the charity and everything. And the only time I ever see things never really get off the ground with situations like this is when people don't like decide, you don't have to like invest your entire life per se, but like the reason I was in Tulum was because we did a really large donation to Austin Smiles, who they take that money and give it to surgeons that go down to Central and South America to fix the cleft lip of children, right? Like children that just can't afford it. If I think about like the people who are really involved in that organization, and I've been lucky enough to meet a few of them, like if they were to say like, who's our next opportunity? Like Austin Smiles, which apparently has been a great success here in Austin for like over 20 years, would never be what it is today without the people that like make it their thing.
Their thing.
Right? So that would be the only thing I would suggest as far as like, when you're like, do you have any charities that you gravitate towards? And you're kind of like, not really. I would encourage you to find at least one or two that you're like, you know what? This is a cause I can get behind. Because just like the networking thing that you're doing right now, you'll create a community and you'll find other people like my dad did with other asshole kids like me. And it organically grows that way.
No, I definitely think it could amplify the growth. And I'm so open to suggestions right now as I'm starting this. I guess I started it in January. But as I grow, I'm just here to learn and try to provide as much value and help as many people as I can. So in whatever avenue that is and whatever direction this takes me, I'm just like, let's do it. Life is good. Life is good.
We did a whole charity thing this year with the podcast, and I interviewed a bunch of different charities because my goal last year was to identify a charity that I really wanted to like sink in with, because every year I give to like 2 or 3 different charities, and I just don't feel like there's anything that I've been able to like really connect with yet. And that's not to take anything away from it. Some of these charities are like, well, wait a minute, you donated us. I just, nothing has like hardcore called to me. Like we did the, there's a boys home that's in Dripping Springs that we helped out this year. It was unbelievable. I mean, they've got horses there. They've got a wood shop that's unbelievable. They have a full-blown mechanics shop where like people will bring in like broken down cars that they don't want, and they'll donate, and like auto mechanics will literally just go there and for free will run like we call it clinics and stuff like that. And we actually had one of my buddies who runs a automotive shop. He was like, I want to donate my time. I'm going to go there. I want to teach these kids how to like fix stuff. And it was great, but again, there's just, I'm trying to find mine too, is what I'm getting at. Like, I'm not trying to be like, figure it out, dude.
We're in it together, brother.
Like for me too, I'm like, man, I'd really like to get behind like a specific charity that I really feel like, I want to like go all in on.
Yeah, I think being more intentional would help build that why and encourage you to,
Totally
do twice as much and go twice as hard, right? So I appreciate you giving me that reminder and talking about it too, because I'm not sure yet. But what I do know is I trust I'll know when I know.
I hope so, because that's what I've been telling myself for the last couple of years. And I'm with you. I do. I'm always trying to give, but it'd be really awesome if I felt like I was doing something that I felt really connected to. If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
When you first started your story about the social worker in Cleveland, I thought it was going to go in the direction of, I was an asshole kid, so my parents used to call a social worker to pretend they were child protective services and like take us away.
No, just
I was like, damn, here we go.
Just like every kid at a young age, I feel like I always joke around because I don't have kids, and I say, people are like, oh, don't you want kids? And I'm like, nah. I'm like, they're really expensive, and they don't appreciate anything until they're at least adults, sometimes never. And nobody can debate that. Like, everyone that has a kid is like,
they're like, yeah,
kind of right.
You got a point there.
I like assets that appreciate.
Yeah. So, like, I know when, I mentioned, we call it a social worker because I was like an asshole kid. And then it was, the irony was everybody was like, yeah, my kid kind of doesn't appreciate anything and either. But those were learning lessons, man. I don't take that back. It was a really cool thing we were doing, and it definitely was eye-opening for me as a young kid, man. You go to some of these homes and you see how other kids are living that, are in some really, really tough spots, and you're like, wow, okay. You kind of hug your parents a little tighter, like,
yep.
So,
I'm gonna make note of that. That's actually, something I'll look into this week. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, carrying it on to our next topic.
Yeah, Chase, hit us with your 900 topics that you have, man.
I know I got so much to unpack, and I never have one-on-one time with Matt, so this is nice. Let's see, unpacking other things. A couple years ago, me, you, and Tony Gavrilov had discussed going into business and buying Airbnbs. 2 years later, Tony told me, he's like, yeah, I was never going to do that to begin with. But it was
I love it. I love you, Tony, if you're watching.
Somewhat of a learning experience. Well, for him, it was. But recently you texted me about wanting to buy a trailer park.
Yes.
And what do you have in mind there?
So me and a friend, Tanner.
Yeah, shout out Tanner Engelhart.
We purchased some land in Bastrop. And
oh, no way.
We purchased an RV, which is currently being rented at the moment. And through learning how to manage tenants and how to find an RV and how to purchase an RV and keep up with the maintenance of the RV and make sure that our tenants are happy, of course, we found that it was quite easy. And so we started looking at other opportunities, either to purchase land and then put RV slots and electric and water, so on and so forth, on that piece of land with the intent to start a little RV park, but we got lucky in the sense that we found one. And
It's not on Old Bastrop Road, is it?
no.
You know this trailer park?
I literally have a client right now that I legitimately can't talk too much about this, but long story short, he purchased this property as a hard money loan because no one could get financing for it. It was a 1-year balloon, and he purchased the property, and about 6 months in, all of the RV slots are set up. It is fully functional. There's like 15 RVs on it. The city comes to him after title transfers and says, this is not permitted to be an RV lot.
My gosh.
And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I bought it as an RV lot. And they're like, well, you and your real estate agent didn't do the research that they were supposed to do because this place is not permitted to be an RV lot. And the main reason it's not permitted to be an RV lot is because technically it's in a floodplain. You can't have RVs on a floodplain.
Ouch.
So he goes and spends like $30,000 to have like FEMA and everyone come in and deem that this property is not on a floodplain. And they come back and they're like, it's on a floodplain.
Oh my gosh.
So now he's like, what do? I can't sell this as an RV lot. And he's trying to convert it to single family, but the only way he can convert it to single family is he has to eliminate and bury all of the water and electrical lines that are put up for the slots, which is where like the majority of the value in it is.
Wow.
So just be careful.
Who is this realtor?
When you were like, we found out it was real easy. I'm thinking yeah, well, let me tell you a story that is
like,
actively
that's
happening.
the property.
That is actively happening right now in my career.
Oh my gosh.
But I apologize. Go on.
No.
So RVs.
Yeah. So hopefully it works out.
You check the zoning.
Yeah. Hopefully it works out for this.
Yeah, call the city.
Gentleman of yours. Gentleman.
This
friend.
is in Bastrop, So.
Yeah. So this the property that we ended up finding, not the one with the one RV spot. It's in Canyon Lake, and we're still working on numbers and financing and all that right now. But that's why I had reached out to you.
To write the offer, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and you may want to connect with our real estate attorney, Travis.
Yeah, you need Travis Hilton.
Yeah.
Because,
thank you. Tanner's wife is an
fantastic.
agent. So
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I knew that.
But yeah, it's just it's exciting to find other projects that aren't just short-term or long-term residential piece of real estate. And
selling teeth torture devices.
yeah, and selling teeth torture devices. Right, exactly. So that's why I had reached out. And as you know, my roommate, Zach, who's also a partner at Riser in the tech world, he's from Corning, New York, and he and his best friend have been actively investing in real estate in upstate New York in Corning. And they've brought me in on a few deals up there. The properties will never appreciate. It's not that sort of town, but the cash flow is really good, and I've been lucky enough to get some property up there. So it's been fun. I think real estate's a really incredible vehicle to make passive income. In my sense, even more so because I'm the one bringing the money to the table, and they're the ones that are managing the rentals. So, yeah.
I got more real estate ideas for you. I think I've brought this one up to you before. Your current health situation has worked so well for you. I bet there would be enough demand that you could open another of your adult frat houses in Plum Creek again.
Yeah, perhaps on the same street. I've thought about it for sure. I think the issue is it's tough to get people to live in Kyle. But also I got my house at the perfect time when the interest rate was low, and when the interest rates were starting to creep back up. So then people were like, "Oh my gosh, they're at 4%, 5% now. They're not at 1.9% anymore," which is
1.9. Damn.
Right. Well, that 2%, whatever.
They were getting pretty damn close.
Yeah. And so because of that, I'm in a new build community.
Sure.
And some of the people who were buying the homes started to back out because interest rates started to creep up. And one of the homes on the same street, the same floor plan that I had, literally the exact same house, a corner lot, it turned out to be even better than the one I was initially in, dropped $75,000 because I guess they just were trying to sell them.
Yeah.
And so I called I called Lennar and I was like, hey, can I just switch? They're like, yeah, sure. So all that being said, I don't think I could get,
They let you out that easy?
it was, I mean, I can't make it up, it was crazy. So I got the house for next to nothing at a great interest rate. And that's why the numbers are able to work the way they are. But I don't think I could do it again in Plum Creek.
I see.
So to the people who backed out with interest rates at like 4%, obviously at the time maybe you felt differently, but it's easy to look back now and say I bought at a great time.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite thing is I don't know anyone that has bought in the last almost 30 years that doesn't look back and go, I bought at a great time.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the things that I tell everybody is if you own a home, and you're making a good point where you're like, I don't think I could do it again because now you own property and you may have to rent that or you have to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just more moving parts now once you already own a home.
Mm-hmm.
But to anybody that doesn't own a home, I never see anybody, like, unless, something happens divorce-wise or whatever, that is like, yeah, buying that home was the dumbest thing I ever did. Like that.
Yeah.
If you don't own a home.
Yeah.
I have a couple
Right.
of people who bought 2 years ago who might say that.
It's too early.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. It's too
You
early.
gotta let it simmer for a while.
Yeah. You're saying when prices were at an all-time high?
Yeah, they bought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, spring of 2022.
Rates are higher and they bought with higher values. But, I've been in the mortgage industry for 25 years. I remember doing loans for people that got loans in like 06, 07. And then once 08 hit, you're calling them and they're like, I'm underwater. Like, I can't even sell my home if I wanted to. And I can remember talking to people that were like, my life is over. Like, not legitimately like suicidal, but like, they just
Feels
such
that
a
way for
such
sure.
a woe is me.
Mm.
And we follow all these clients for years after years, and like they're clients that I would end up talking to in like 2010, 2011, 12. They were selling their houses. They made well into six figures. They're buying a new one. Rates were at like 4%. And what's funny is like they all kind of say exactly what you just said. They're like, I got it at such a good time. I mean, I didn't really know it. Like, I was underwater, but boy, did that really work out.
Yeah.
It's like, I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always let them be the genius, though, not me. Not me.
Yeah.
Just sit and listen.
Because what do we real estate professionals really know anyway, right?
Nothing.
You just open doors, and I just take mortgage applications and pull credit.
Well, that marketing guy today that was trying to sell me on his services, bless his heart, he doesn't know what he's doing. I think I'd be the first realtor he's ever worked with, and sorry, that's not going to happen. But he mentioned something about, he's like, oh yeah, I see you're also doing flips, and I was like, it's like, yeah, the other benefit of doing the flip is that once I started posting these videos of construction progress, I got all these questions from people who were doing work on their own homes, people I didn't even know who were just chiming into my Instagram asking questions about projects in their own homes. Then we got to the point of talking, and now like I know when they're planning on selling or if they're planning on buying something and doing a flip as well. Or if they're, considering buying an investment property or their own new home and they want to do work on it. And this guy was like, that would be a great niche for you. You should be that agent that, knows what someone's home is worth, after they do work to it. And I was like, is this not common knowledge? Like, is this not a basic requirement of being a realtor? Is knowing basic numbers?
Well, we've talked about this. I think the biggest mistake that sometimes we make as real estate professionals, and I'm sure the same goes for, anything that anyone does professionally, is you kind of assume that everybody knows what you do and kind of like what, your knowledge level is or whatnot. And people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's something with this NAR settlement that the biggest change we're going to see is that, despite that most likely it'll be very minimal change, the biggest change we'll see is buyer's agents need to start asserting what their value is and
For sure.
explaining what we do as a realtor. Because I think for a listing agent, we always go through this whole process, this whole listing presentation of what we bring to table. But for buyers, I'm hopping on a video chat and I'm just asking them questions. I rarely talk about myself because for a lot of buyers, they don't really care as much.
Oh, they care. They just don't know what to ask.
That's fair. Yeah, maybe I just need to start giving them the full presentation like I would a seller.
Yeah.
So then do you guys work together pretty closely?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
About 20 feet apart,
Yes. I mean, we do. It's, at the end of the day, the thing that I always try to bring to the table outside of the obvious things, that a lender brings is that I think a lot of people don't know what questions to ask. And then furthermore, the number one thing that I think breeds a solid buyer is confidence, right? And I think that real estate agents have to sell more of the confidence in themselves that, like you should work with me, like you're with the right person. From the lending standpoint of things, I find it to be my job ultimately to explain, future wealth that's associated with owning a home, kind of get some of the fears that people have as far as the financing are concerned. I mean, even just like getting your credit pulled, and I swear we as lenders did it to ourselves, but like people are like, I don't want my credit to go down. Like, who told you that was the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Who told you that was the thing? And how much will your credit go down? They're like, I don't know. And I swear, when I talk to people and I really dig, it's a cop-out. Because now people know that they're taking the steps that they need. Because the clients that are like the blind ones, if I told them they could afford $1 million home, but they work for Whataburger, they'd be like, cool, let's buy one. Like, that client is never like, I don't know if I want my credit pulled, right?
Yeah.
And so people don't want to admit when they don't know really what. And I don't think I had a guy last night flat out tell me, he's like, I don't know, I want to wait a little while. He goes, I know in this business there's a lot of sharks in the water. What he said to me. And I was like, can you explain to me what you mean by that? Like, and I wanted to laugh like y'all, but I was like, hey, I just want to ask, like, what do you mean by that? He's like, like, there's a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of people. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. How, just out of curiosity, how do you feel like I could potentially take advantage of you? And we walked through this whole conversation, and at the end of the day, he really just had no idea. And we talked about regulation, we talked about interest rates, we talked about closing costs, and all of these things that I feel like are important to chat about. But instead of him asking me those questions, he wanted to put up this like kind of, I know what's going on. I know there's a lot of sharks in the water. It's like, I have no idea what that means. Yeah, so.
And I am the biggest jaws of all.
Right. But again, like, creating confident buyers for real estate agents is really what I focus on. And I do it well. I've written testimonials, and I've had, phone conversations with people that are like, we handed them off to Matt. Like, I'll try my very best to meet with clients in person. I think it's important because then that's really when they will start to like ask me really good questions. And I've had clients that have been referred to me by real estate agents where my two favorite lines is either, I've been running this guy around, he's in no hurry, or I just met him, he's in no hurry. 8 out of 10 times, that client's under contract in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if we can build up their confidence on the financing side.
Yeah.
Because once someone's like, okay, I can afford this, I know what everything looks like, I know what this is going to cost, and I see the value in it now and in the future, like, it is very rare, and you're the real estate agent, so ask me, but it is very rare that there is like someone out there that's like, I need this exact house in this exact location at this, exact price. Like, especially if they don't own a home. Like they're like, no, I want to get into my first house. Here's a general area. Here's, I want 3 beds, 2 baths. Like, great. There's 90 homes that meet your criteria today.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think the pre-approval kind of burns a hole in their pocket. I mean, I think it did for me as well. When I got pre-approved for my first house, it was like, ooh, wow. Like, Luke Martz, shout out, told me that I can borrow up to $700,000 if I want. And I was like, whew, I could not afford the payment on that at all. But I was
You could. You just have to change your
just-
entire lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Just the fact that someone told me I could is like the whole world opened. I scrolled Zillow and finally it was like, it's like I was seeing in color for the first time. Sure. I was like, I can actually buy all of these. What if I bought 2 of them? Yeah, so I think getting that pre-approval letter
That's
is
the
always
confidence.
that big step. And if I get a buyer pre-approved, I mean, to me, it's like it's very similar to like
So that's Chase and I working
getting a
closely
listing
against
Yeah.
agreement.
20 feet apart.
20 feet apart, right?
Yeah, still won't show up for 7 a.m. Work out.
Tell your story.
Okay, all right. So this story starts with something annoying, but then it kind of, over the course of today, I've found it very philosophical and interesting, just on an ethical, moral, and just philosophical standard. I guess I got to reverse a little, but I have a safe in my house that I keep like $2,000, $2,500 in, just in case, our whole world financially.
Hey, boy, you going to file taxes on that?
Yeah, just in case the whole world just like financially corrupts and all of a sudden I'm the richest man in the world. Also, it's like just in case I'm packing a bag to go to Vegas and I'm like, all right, perfect, my gambling money. But all the money in there came from one of 3 places. It was either, one of 4. It was either,
Dancing.
yeah, for sure. It was either from one of my bartending gigs as tips over the last 4 years. I never deposited any of this; it just sat in the safe. From casino winnings, which I tell you there aren't much, but here and there, you go to Vegas and you have a good time playing craps. ATM money that I didn't spend at the casino. So that's the only reason I need cash is for casinos. I make this sound like I'm gambling all the time. I'm definitely not. And if
Wait, and the story. Why are we
Hold
telling
on.
this story?
Hold
Did
on.
I miss something?
No. I'm just
It's coming?
prefacing
Okay.
the
All right,
story.
all right,
coming.
gotcha. Okay. All right.
Or the last one would be like, let's say I sold something on Craigslist and someone like handed me money. Anyway, so I had to dip into that today because I had a credit card bill due tomorrow and I was supposed to have a closing this week. Anyway, it got delayed a week. Whatever. Regardless, I had to pay my bill. So I borrowed $1,500 from it this morning. I go to the Chase Bank on Slaughter and South First, and I almost want to like throw this teller under the bus too. I go put all $1,500 into the ATM, and it spits out one of the hundreds, and it says can't take this. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe it's dirty, maybe it's I don't know, too crumbly or something. It takes all the rest, and so I bring it back to the teller in the back of the room, and I said, hey, I can't get this to deposit in the ATM. Can you deposit it for me? And he looks at it, like doesn't even pick it up, looks at it on the table, goes, that's fake. And I was like, how do you know? I said, it
Yeah,
looks
how?
like all the others. Like it has the same hologram. It feels the same. I was like, what makes it fake? He said, I just know it. I know when I see it. And I said, well, you didn't even hold it up to the light. You didn't draw on it with a pen. Like this is just your word against mine.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he kind of like made this like expression like you better leave before there's trouble. And I was like, well, I'm not going to back down from this. Like I believe this is legit.
It's real. Yeah.
I said, look, I most likely got this from a casino or as tip money. So either I earned or was awarded this money for my valiant efforts on the craps table, putting money on 6 and 8. And he's like, he said, well, I need you to sign this paper and I need to send this into the Secret Service. I was like, the Secret Service? I said, bring them in here. Where is your Secret Service? And he said, well, I'm going to call them. He said, I'm going to need you to take a seat over there. Like in a private office.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
what, am I being detained? And he said, give me your debit card. And I was like, what if I want the money back? He said, I can't give you the money back. He said, I'm going to need your debit card so I can send this in. And I was like, I feel like I'm a prisoner right now. So he takes my debit card, and I said, I want a receipt for wherever you're sending this money. I want proof
Right.
that you're mailing this into the Secret Service.
Yeah.
So, verdict at the end, he gave me my debit card and gave me a receipt that says counterfeit received by with my name and my address. And I'm like, are the Secret Service going to follow up on this?
Oh
But
my
which
gosh.
okay, that was number one. And I have no worries about being criminally charged. Obviously, if
Yeah.
that that $100 bill is fake, then obviously I didn't know, and I wouldn't.
No,
You know,
you didn't know at all.
If it was fake, I mean, if I knew it was fake, then I would have probably just put my head down and left as fast as I could. Right, I wouldn't have stayed.
You wouldn't have fought it at all.
Yeah. So, what this all comes back to is, I don't know. They've apparently, without me knowing, put it under a scanner. I don't know. I think the whole thing's bull. Regardless, this kind of brings me back to fiat currency and what it is. So, I mean, what I learned from my minor in economics is, we started with a barter system, then we went to using gold and silver, and then when we ran out of that, we had to swap to pieces of paper and cotton that the government has determined are worth these values. And so, I don't know, the thing that I've been thinking about all day is I've done work to earn this money. To me, it has a value of $100. To the person who gave it to me, it was valued at $100. And likely the next person I was going to give it to, it would also be worth $100. Chances are this money has already circulated, probably, 3-5 people already,
I would think
by
so.
the time it got to me. Because it wasn't like it was a crisp dollar bill straight out of a printer. So it probably would have circulated another 3 to 5 people before someone tried bringing it to a bank. Should a private institution be allowed to take this away from me? On one hand, if it were counterfeit, yeah, I could see there being an ethical problem of me saying, oh, well, I'm just going to try to pass this off to somebody else. But should my efforts be worth something? I don't know. This has been on my mind all
Well, I
day.
think the only question is if yes, then who is going to compensate you for your efforts?
Yeah, the tough part is I can't go back to whatever source that was.
Yeah, like where
if
is
I
it?
knew I got this from the Talk and Stick Casino of Scottsdale, Arizona,
I've been
the-
there.
then I could go back there. Unfortunately, this was mixed with other random money from the last 4 years as I've owned this safe. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure who's
Yeah, I mean,
responsible.
that's the
for not doing
problem.
that.
It's like who takes the hit for that? Like, does Chase just go, it's okay,
We're
Chase,
a bank. We'll
Cangelosi.
give you some money.
Yeah, here's $100. I mean, what you should do is you should submit your request to Matt's charity and see if enough people vote that you should be made whole for your $100.
Yes.
I think there might be donors out there.
Yes.
But see, the thing is, it's like I don't need the $100. Like I'm not starving.
Hang on, turn on the waterworks, bro.
But-
We got a guy who can hook you up.
I'm not starving out here, but I'm pretty close to it. No, but that being said, aren't we the people in charge of our money system,
I
Or-
mean, not no.
or is an institution? No, we are
It
not
is
the
an
people.
institution. Yeah, yeah. It's
I mean, and they were about to send me to an institution as well.
yeah,
These
yeah. I get it. Sucks.
are my thoughts on what is currency.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? What year was the central bank started?
Oh, like 1901 or something.
I mean, it's not that long ago when you think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, who do you make whole on that? But I guess I just think about it from a legality standpoint and okay, we track you, but it's like, they want to catch whoever made that bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know much about counterfeiting money, but do they print serial numbers on counterfeit money?
They did, because I have the serial number in the tracking.
So if they find other ones that have the same serial number, maybe if they find that guy, then but then how do you get money back from a counterfeiter? He clearly didn't have money to begin with. He had to print it.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. You're the first person that I know, and
Same.
that like this. I've never heard a story like this.
I know. This is why I find it so exciting.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
See,
it's
and
interesting.
then part of me is like, man, if I could prove that that dollar was real, then I would have a great case. I'm not the type of person to like lawyer up if someone does me wrong, but I feel like I could, like because they immediately suspected that I was a criminal. They detained me in an office and held my debit card hostage.
I think the only place that dollar bill could come from in all of the instances that you made mention of is through like somebody purchasing something off of you from eBay.
That's what I'm thinking. It was a Craigslist deal.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the little casinos I went to in like Oklahoma.
No chance, dude. Those things are so regulated, and people put money in. It goes like then there's cameras. There's
That's true.
and then you have to get it from the cage. Like they're
true.
they're running all of that money right then and there. Like there's no chance that's coming from a casino. Yeah, it's got to be some guy who like either printed money and bought something from you off of Craigslist.
Bought like some form of guitar equipment.
Yeah, I
or
mean,
furniture.
why not?
Yeah. So well, now this leads me to believe. Well, also one thing I learned was don't take 100s from anybody. Well, I don't know if it's like tip money and I'm bartending. By all means, I'll still take your fake 100.
Do you still
But-
bartend?
Sometimes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm still on the roster at the Moody Center and with Peach Tortilla.
Love it.
Both those are like work when you feel like type of jobs. So I think I have like one shift with the Moody Center this month.
Nice.
But in April, I did like 10.
Whoa.
So it just depends how busy I am otherwise. They're good times. And I feel like work like that makes me, I don't know, it just makes me appreciative maybe. It's also just so mindless and easy.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry to bartenders who just heard that, but it's very simple to make drinks and charge people on a register. Like it's not tough work.
You mean like taking orders?
Yeah, you know,
I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I understand that. When
what you're
during
doing.
COVID, I got furloughed from my job, and all I did was landscaping for 3 months. Best 3 months of my life. Literally, it was phenomenal.
See, during COVID,
I didn't
was-
think at all. I just listened to music all day and just
No, I
raked
totally
leaves.
understand.
It was awesome.
I love manual labor sometimes.
it gets exhausting, dude. I worked at a printing company for like 6 months, and for the first 3 months, I loved it. And I'm old to where like Howard Stern was on the radio, so I was like listening to Howard
He's
Stern
still
all
on.
day. Well,
He's on
not.
Sirius.
He's not on terrestrial radio. And I thought this is so great, but after about 90 days, I was like, okay, this is enough.
I have a story about Howard Stern.
Please.
This is so dumb, but I was trying to negotiate with Sirius XM. That's like one of my few luxury items. I'm in my car all the time. I drive 500 miles a week. I want to listen to variety, radio with no commercials, and I
You
would
mean
rather.
like Spotify?
Yeah, see, the thing about Spotify is I have the ability.
thing.
I have
Yeah,
the
same
ability to
thing.
skip. So with the ability to skip, I'm never going to hear anything new. I also sometimes I like to diversify between like a couple different stations, and then also like the comedy stations, or on very very rare occasions like a news station. But I heard somewhere that you could get Sirius XM for $6 a month. I was paying at the time like $28 a month, and so I typed to their customer service person. I said, because they didn't have like a line you'd call, it was just like type in our chat box. And I said, I heard I can get this for $6 a month. How can I get onto that plan? And they said, do you listen to Howard Stern? And I was like, are you attacking me right now? I was like, I've probably listened to Howard Stern once or twice in the car. And they're like, well, we can bring you down to the $6 plan, but let it be known you won't get any Howard Stern. I was like, I am very okay with being Stern free. and they're like, all right, I need you to sign this terms and conditions. And like it like listed all of the stations that I wouldn't get. And then she manually highlighted Howard Stern radio. I was like, is this such a big sticking point for people?
Wow.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
I was
so
a big fan for a while.
I now have Sirius XM Stern free
That's amazing.
for $6 a month.
I like that. at the end of the day, I was thinking about how working at a landscaping company for you for like 90 days after being furloughed was so amazing.
Yeah.
It really just touches on exactly what we were talking about today, which is,
New
doing
is always
something
exciting.
new. It's always kind of exciting, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like your calling or anything like that, but I think that's why people switch brokerages so much. And, people are like, I'm going to do something different. And then they do it and they're like, I love it. And then 6 months later, like, you still do that? They're like, no, I work here now. And I'm like, but you said you loved it.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking every single job I've had, everyone at the company was like, it used to be better. And like even I was saying that. But I think it used to be different, new, and exciting. And then eventually it gets old.
Well, Matt, what do you want to cover before we wrap it up here?
Oh, I got one more topic for Matt.
Go.
So one thing that made me know that we would be friends. Well, there were several things in this book. Okay, so he gave me this book in the parking lot after we left dinner, and I read the whole thing in like the course of maybe 2 days, which is very fast for me to read a book. This is like a month for me. One was his relationship with his father, which I don't think we have that much time in this podcast.
We do. I just wanted to make sure that we've touched on one more topic.
But the other one, this topic is how cheap you used to be. And I resonated with it because I, too, was buying meals at Dollar Tree.
They sell meals at Dollar Tree?
Well, they sell
Meals and
food.
hand towels.
Yeah.
They sell all kinds
There's
of
one
things at Dollar
here.
Tree.
I notice it.
But yeah, I mean, I also resonated with getting, I don't know, haircuts on the coupons, and I will only buy a Subway sandwich if I have a coupon for it. And I feel like despite how much money I've made, not that it's been a bad year, everybody, but despite how much money I made in the peak of the real estate market, I never changed those habits of being really cheap for no reason. Have you retained those habits? Have they changed? And what was the turning point, if so?
Great questions.
We're talking he used to clean garbage cans.
Yeah, I did.
Best time of his life.
I would say
For the first 30 days.
yeah. I'd say most of them I've kept, but I don't eat peanut butter jellies 2 meals a day every day anymore, which I did for like 19 months, I think I counted.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think there comes a point where you should be okay with spending money just for your quality of life. And so I'm not nearly as frugal as I was then. However, I'm a big believer in it's not a matter of how much you make, but how much you save and invest. Granted, it's great if you make a lot of money too, right? But I do think it's be smart with your money, you know?
Are you still promoting this book? So you were doing speeches at one point.
I was doing speeches. I was going on radio shows, and I'm not now. I feel like it was a season, right? We have these chapters of our lives where we
I've
try
tried
to
to
do
unpack
difficult
all of
things,
yours.
and yeah, and
I've been fishing this whole time.
and so this one was. Each year I set an intention. Last year was health. This year's relationships. 2 years ago was money, and then the year before that was creativity, artistic endeavor, and that was why this book came to be.
I do something very similar.
Yeah, and so
Try to find a mantra, something I repeat for like a year.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't forget about it, but at the same time, I don't want to be attached to anything. So I'm just. It was fun. It was a good project. I enjoyed it. That was an awesome year. Learned a lot about writing, how to publish, how to promote, how to speak about a product. But I'm on to something else.
Do you
I'm
ever get
okay with
asked
that.
by those high schools that you talk to go do it again?
Yeah, I do. And I've said no. Yeah, I want to try.
Just send them the
things.
YouTube link. So watch it for yourself.
Yeah.
Does this book still get
I've
sales?
referred them to other speakers. Yeah, I sold one today actually.
Hey,
Yeah. So they come in every once in a while. It's a little bing, bing, bing.
does
You
that still get you excited?
I kind of laugh at this point. I'm surprised.
Are
I'm
you-
surprised to still get sales?
Do you regret any of the content you wrote in there? Because there's
Um,
a lot of personal stuff.
I don't, because at the time I needed it in order to move past it. If that makes sense.
Totally.
I believe that.
Up to that point, I never journaled, and someone read the book the other day, and they're like, "This is basically just your journal."
Yeah, I mean, half of it's an autobiography.
Yeah,
The other half is about how to be frugal.
yeah.
Do you ever think that frugality is a way of gamifying money,
Yes.
and it's not necessarily about saving as much as it is? Because I like the comment that you made. It's like it's not really about like what you're spending. It should be like what you're spending versus what you're saving.
Yeah.
Because I definitely see a lot of people that are very frugal with, certain things, and a lot of it are things that, they like to talk about or brag about, and all of a sudden,
Dude, it's 100% a game. And I
Right.
remember during that time, it excited me, and I was in college when I wrote this book. It excited me. I don't know how to say this without sounding like a freaking asshole, but like,
well, you've grown. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It excited me whenever I would work with friends or coworkers, and we'd both work the same job that night, both bartend, valet, whatever it was. We'd make $150, and that night they would go out and spend it all, and then I wouldn't, right?
Right.
And I was like, dude, this is kind of a game. You just got to play your cards right. And so the swing of it was, okay, yeah. Anyway, they would spend it, I wouldn't, and then I was like, wow, if I just keep doing this, then I'm gonna be able to buy that car, and they're still gonna be driving the beater that they have, right?
Right.
And it was just like that. I was like, I started looking at things a little bit differently and turned it into a game. It was like that. I've never thought about that. Thanks for that reflection.
Well, the reason I think about it a lot is because at the end of the day, you've just identified now like a car, right?
Yeah.
Because like what I see a lot of people do is that they'll save and then they'll go on like a really expensive vacation, right? Where some people would say like, you shouldn't go on that expensive vacation because, and so again, going back to me, like complimenting your comment, I actually read Elon's book. And one of the things that always resonated with me was, and of course this comment is to be taken with a grain of sand, but he's like, I talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm going to cut my Netflix. I'm going to save myself like $12 a month. I'm going to call and get the non-Howard Stern package on Sirius and all of these things. And he's like, I think that sometimes people need to shift their mindset or their paradigm of like, what are ways that I can afford or I can make more money to afford some of the things that I might want? Like, granted, if you don't like Howard Stern, like cut the Howard Stern, right? But like
That'll fix all of my financial problems.
to gamify, like, well, if I cut Howard Stern, then I could like save $6, and then eventually I'm gonna get like a car, like it's like, why not just figure out a way to make more money and get that car like in a couple weeks? And it's just again, it's all kind of saying the same thing, but the gamifying of money as far as like savings, like it's always intrigued me because I've never been like that.
I feel like, I mean, potentially the first book that I wanted to read in my life. This is a tough take for someone. I think I was 18 years old. I don't like reading. I love audiobooks. This is one of the few paper books I've read. Anyway, regardless. I've read several business books, but we'll put that aside. The first book I ever wanted to read and bought myself and decided I was going to read was Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. I was 18 years old, and I felt like that set my financial life on a great note, given he writes to people who are knee-high in debt. But if you're writing to someone who really has no debt and extremely minimal savings, he's talking to someone with maybe, I don't know, 18 years old, like a couple $100 in savings maybe.
Fiat currency to meter.
Yeah, half of it was fake, though, because I was printing it. But, yeah, I felt like he made he made saving money and getting out of debt a game, and I feel like that's why, and I'm sure his success rate is not tremendous, but I bet it's more than a lot of debt advisors, just because people like the game aspect of it.
Well, and then there's also the game of doing the credit card stuff and everything along those lines. I mean, I'm part of that, kind of, right? We refinance people and pay off debt on a regular basis. And I see the successes of it, and I see people fall right back into things. And, you know, you mentioned Ramsey. It kind of cracks me up because it really does tie into this whole dollar bill thing, if you think about it. Because here you're stuffing money away in a safe where some people would argue that you should have that money invested.
Yeah.
Right?
That's very true.
And if we're playing the gamification of money and ways to save versus ways to invest, you're playing it backwards. But according to Ramsey, you're doing it the right way, right? Because $3,000 at a conservative 10% APR over the entire year, I mean, you could probably make, with your eyes closed, $30 a month, which is
for my Stern,
which is way more than your Stern, right? But like, and this isn't to like fuck with anybody. It's just funny because
fuck with Howard Stern.
But the truth is, like, these are the things that like I feel like people get hyper focused on the game sometimes of saving. Other people are like, oh, I'm such an investor. Like, I have clients from the financial side where we'll say, okay, you need to like write a check for $1,500 in earnest money. And they're like, ooh, yeah, that's going to take like a week. I'm like, why? How? How is that going to take you a week? You're buying a $750,000 home. Like, well, I'm going to have to call my financial advisor and I'm going to have to pull the money out. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense either. Like, Chase has $3,000 in a safe for an emergency, and you have like $2 million in an IRA that you can't get to in like 10 days because you're buying a house and you need $1,500. Like, weird, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. He's like, well, I'm gamifying everything because I'm like making money. It's invested into the market, and look at this. And I'm like, what if you want to like take, I don't know, like I do a lot of stuff for work. Like, what if you decide that you want to take out like a client, right? Like, you don't have $1,500? I don't know.
I've never taken out a client for $1,500.
Well, how about a couple of them?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a couple weeks, yeah.
Right? So, all interesting things when it comes to money. So I loved that you did that rant on Snapchat today because of that. Because you're not wrong, but it is an interesting concept in the respect that, you know, you kind of got fucked out of $100.
I agree.
Long story short.
I agree.
Like, you are the one that got screwed. And I don't see any way you're going to like be made whole on it.
I don't think you're getting that $100 back.
No,
Some way
it's
or
gone.
another, I was happy to get that money.
You know how much serious satellite radio you could get for $100?
Yeah.
I'd be listening to all the stations.
Yeah, you could have Stern on 24/7.
Gosh, I feel like I could continue on a conversation with both of the Matts.
You're
night,
welcome
but,
to. I'm gonna pop off and turn the air up because it's like 90 degrees in here for starters.
I feel like it's. We've been on this for almost 2 hours now.
Yeah.
I feel like we should get to wrapping up. Any other closing thoughts? Because I might end with a little a reading from Alter Productive. That sounded very blasphemic. That I just
Read
said
ahead.
Well,
So
before you
also-
start there, we got to have him on again, and we just have to have him on a little earlier. All right.
I'll say
I
this.
tried.
So for the listeners, I have a podcast,
Yeah.
and we stopped the podcast about a year ago.
Oh, I forgot to ask about
So-
that.
What happened?
We decided that the events were one, more fulfilling, but two, from a business standpoint, what
Sure.
was bringing in the revenue. But it's so interesting being on this side because I'm used to asking the questions and just not saying anything. So I appreciate you guys for allowing me to come on.
Totally.
And pushing me a little bit because, believe it or not, even though as a podcast you're talking all the time, I'm so used to asking questions. It's actually uncomfortable for me to answer questions because I really have to think. So thank you for the challenge.
It's like
and-
you knew what page I opened to. A reading from Ultra Productive, chapter 21. Seek discomfort. If you're committed to self-development, you're either committed to Wow, I'm ridiculous. If you're not committed to self-development, you're committed to self-destruction. There's no middle ground. Skip a few lines. Stop following the crowd. You don't have to go out every Friday and Saturday nights. It's time you start taking ownership of your life. The easy road often becomes hard, and the hard road often becomes easy.
Deep.
Man, I haven't opened
You ever reread that?
book. I haven't reread it since I published it.
I haven't either, but I think I might. Back when I published this, I worked for Penguin. Yeah.
Wow.
Matt, what else would you like to plug or promote that we can get out for you as far as clips are concerned?
I remember every time that we had a guest on our podcast, we'd ask that question, and we never ourselves promoted what we wanted to promote. So I want both of you to give the opportunity to promote what you want to promote today. Because sometimes what happens is your listeners just listen because they like you, but they don't really they don't like, what do these guys do? We just like them. So it might be a good opportunity for you guys to reintroduce what you do, what the day jobs are, and what you're trying to build.
I'll go right after you go because you're just trying to be comfortable because we are on over our 100th podcast. So I've done a ton of promoting.
Matt's over 100, but
yeah, we got a ton of footage. So we're gonna start with you, and then I'll be happy to talk about what it is I'd love to promote.
Congrats on 100, by the way. That's incredible.
Thank you.
I'll start by promoting Riser. Riser Network is a community here in Austin that I run with my two best friends, Christian and Zach. We throw events on a monthly basis and throw events on a quarterly basis. You can find us on Instagram at Riser Network. Would love for you to give us a follow and come to an event. We have free events. We have paid events. If you can't pay for an event, DM me. I'll send you a free ticket.
Yeah, how do we find the information?
In the bio on Instagram at Riser Network.
Love it.
And then if you want to follow me, you can. It's Matt_Worthington on Instagram. That's where I hang out most of the time.
Well, I think the real shout out for Mr. Worthington is to focus on exactly what he was really trying to focus on this year.
Helping people.
No, that's not true. It's relationships. So,
You remember.
of course I do. I'm here. I listen.
I'm here and I think of questions while other people are
so
talking.
So we that's what my call to action or whatever you want to call it is going to be. As I mentioned to you when you first came in here, and we've been doing it weekly now, I am really focused on maintaining this Friday networking that we've been doing here. Every single Friday, we're barbecuing something. Why? Because it's easy and it's delicious. I want people to come through. I want people to, on a much smaller scale, because frankly, we don't have the space and I don't have the time. But we want people to come through that are looking to connect in business and all of those things. So I've been posting about it to the point where people are finally starting to ask me more about it, getting to that. But relationships, they're important and they require work. And it's the bartering system. It's how it started, man. So if you don't want to find a counterfeit $100 bill, focus on relationships.
And what time on Fridays?
I typically want people here anywhere, after 2. Like it really heats up at like 3, 4 o'clock.
Cool.
We shoot pool. People come over, grab a plate, meet everyone, and people come and go. It's pretty chill.
You doing it this Friday?
Yes, sir. This Friday is going to be, I think the company's name is Mojo. Jay Dover has a friend from Atlanta who is working on putting together, or not working, he has put together a pork marinade that he's trying to get into H-E-B. Certain stores are picking it up, and apparently Jay has more of it than he knows what to do. So we're going to plug that this Friday.
Amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
my shout out to myself feels, I don't know, kind of selfish at this point. But
That's what it's all about. Go.
all right. I just finished my second flip.
There you go.
The
Congrats.
first one
I have a
spent
clap track. Here, keep going. We'll
Oh,
do that.
great. The first one I felt like spent too much time on the market. This one I'm expecting to go a lot faster. This house is done beautifully. It was beautifully staged by my mother, And thank you. Wow,
There it is.
that's great.
that?
And,
There it is.
Thank you.
There it is.
And it's for sale now. So this I don't know why I was holding up the Richard. Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank
That's the award.
Vita Construction for finishing on time. The house is for sale now. If anyone wants to just come take a look.
What's the address?
I mean, even 7208 Towering Oaks Drive. If you want lockbox code, DM me. If anyone ever wants to just meet me there and talk about home projects, talk about real estate, talk about anything, I just like showing this house to people, and I feel like the more people that see it, the better.
I have an idea.
Okay, great. Let's go.
Why don't we do a small event there?
Let's have our networking. Can we? Let's get some riser spot. Well, I can't have that many people there. I need it'd be nice to have 20, 30 people there.
Right? Why don't we put that? We can put that together.
We can. I agree.
Where's the property?
About a mile down the street on
South House.
William Cannon Westgate, and
Amazing.
Whispering Oaks.
Yeah, let's get together like a networking event there. We'll, I think I can make a donation of some alcohol, and
Nice.
we can do some catering and everything along those lines.
Okay.
Treat it like a broker's open, but with people other than agents. Agents are invited, of course, but
Okay. Yeah.
business professionals and stuff like that. Matt can be there.
I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna see if the famous comedian that lives next door could also make an appearance.
No, it's a true story.
Yeah, we I sold the OG flip house to an investor in California, and she rented it out to a comedian. His name's Tommy Pope. He probably would not want me blasting him on here, but a friend of mine had sent me one of his Instagram stories, and he's like in the house with Shane Gillis, and my friend is like, "Wait, is this your previous flip?" And I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "What's going on here?"
No way.
And yeah, I've met him a couple times. He's on tour right now, but I think he should be ending that pretty soon.
That was your client for the flip?
The current tenant. So
my gosh.
I sold it to an investor. She had sunroom rentals rented out. Now there's a comedian that lives next door. So cool
Small
guy.
world.
I mowed his grass recently. And so
Cheers to that.
yeah, so you won't buy a lawnmower. Anyway, but I was on Sirius XM on the Raw Dog Comedy station, and I heard one of his jokes on there. So I was like, well, that's sick.
Amazing.
I like that.
Wow.
So you do have the Raw Dog Comedy on Sirius XM, even though you don't have the premiere package.
That is correct. Yeah. I know. God, it was horrible.
Baller.
They're like, we're gonna take out sports, and I was like, oh, have mercy, as if I would ever listen to a minor league hockey game
Right.
on Sirius XM. Yeah. Yeah, they're like, we're gonna take out the religious stations. I'm like, do it. What else do you want from me? Take away God.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure.
Another excerpt.
Are we doing one more excerpt, and then we're gonna?
You have the choice to go forward or backwards. It's as simple as that.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Matt, pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Chase, another successful market on the
I'll
rocks.
see you 20 feet away.
We'll have this edited in about 48 hours.
Nice.
All right, y'all.
Fastest in the game.
I am pretty.